Welcome back to another episode of Yami RPG Editor. So we'll continue using our tutorial project that we made in the last video. Now first off, I'll show you I did make a folder that we're going to put our assets in that we use for these tutorials. So far I have 2 tile sets today, so that should be an indication of what we'll be talking about. This video will be about scenes and tile sets, and tile map objects, I guess you could say. So, let's get started. So we'll do everything within this folder. I'll right click, go to create, and create a scene. Just leave the name as is for now, it's fine. Now we'll double click it, and we see the view changes because now we are in a new scene. Effectively, this is a new map. Same thing as our big map here, but smaller and without a tile set. So let's go to our new scene and click on settings right here. We have the width and the height in tiles of the scene, 20 by 20 in each direction. We can obviously change that to any number we would like, 10 by 10, make it a little smaller. But I do need to change the dimensions of the tiles themselves, 16 by 16 to match my tile sets. Okay, so next we'll do create again and create a normal tile set. We could do an auto tile set, but that's something we'll go over at a later time. Tile set and leave the name as is. Now image will be in our folder here, and we'll just do normal ground tiles for this one, and it should be 16 by 16 tiles and 16 by 16 pixels. Yes, that is correct. Okay, now we have our scene, we have our tile set with our tiles here. However, we still cannot draw tiles because there's no object to draw tiles on. So we go to the object list, right click, create a tile map. Now we have an object we can draw tiles on. However, one thing to keep in mind, if we were to change the size of the scene by going to the settings here, 10 by 10, perhaps we want to be 20 by 20, the way it was before. You'll see the tile map itself did not change. However, were the reverse true, anytime we have the scene set to a particular size and we make a new tile map, let's see here, it will adopt the current size of the scene. So we'll undo that for now. Okay, now we are going into our Tileset file. Double click. And here we have a few things. We have our layers here. Number 1. Now if you notice when I had a number 2 here, there was a number 2 up here. But we can use the number keys to go through those different tile maps to have different layers to draw on. And as you see, I have a grass tile here because the pencil is selected and the first layer is selected. Okay, so we have all these buttons here. The first one, well, in this sequence anyway, the first one is the eraser. The shortcut key for this button is Q. So press Q, nothing happens because it's already selected. Following that is pencil, which is a shortcut of E. It's going to do one tile by one tile. Pretty obvious stuff. Next one is R for rectangles. T for ovals or ellipsis. And if we don't want to do any of that, Y for a flood fill. Okay, and there's one more here that we can use. If we press the apostrophe key, well, actually, I think it's already selected. Perhaps not. I'm mistaken. So let's carry on. Okay, so if the scene size is changed, like I said, it does not, the tile map itself will not change to adjust the size. So if you do change the size of the scene here, you should be sure to change the size of the tile map to match it. If not, you may have problems with things lining up, or problems with the player being able to, well, making places inaccessible for the player. This tile map is an object. See here, we're set to object layer. And what's important about this being an object is that the player can walk on these tiles. If I did the same thing I did before and went into the scene here and made this place much bigger, well, not this one here. If I made this place much bigger, these tiles here are not traversable. The player would not be able to walk on these tiles at all. It would be useless. So we will undo that. Okay, next we will do something else. We are going to make a new tile set. Actually, first, let's make a new tile map. Leave it as is. Then create a new tile set. Normal tile set again. This time Tileset 2, because why not? Now this one, you may have guessed, we're going to use our other tileset file. Same dimensions, 16 by 16, with a width and height of 16 by 16. See, everything's nice and put together there. Okay, now we're going to go to our new tile map, select 2, and notice the view changes because we are drawing on the second layer now. And as I mentioned before, we have 2 layers to draw on. If we press the number 1, we jump to the first tile map. If we press 2, we jump to the second tile map. If we had 3, it would be number 3, and so on and so forth, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Alright, so let's draw a tree here. Oh, actually I messed it up, so let's try again. I just flood-filled the tile map. Okay, so Tileset 2. Let's draw a tree here. As Bob Ross would say, some beautiful, happy little trees. Okay, now we go back to object layer, we right-click, and we're going to set a start position for our player and see how these trees display. Now, as I said, we cannot leave the tile map object. That is the only area we can walk on. Now, if we walk over these, we see they are the same as the ground we're walking on. They're essentially a background object, and I will show you why that is. We go into tile map, the first one we created, and if we go over here and look, layer for the very first one is set to background. And we'll notice there are 3 options here. Background will be tile maps or tile sets that you were walking on, essentially the ground itself. Foreground may be clear to see as well what this is. This will be objects that are overlapping actors within the scene. An object will be objects, and they will display according to priority. Now all 3 of these, depending on what setting we're using on the layer, will also have different effects with lighting. But that's something we'll go over in perhaps another video. But for now, we need to fix the display priority of these trees. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We're going to go into Tileset 2, the one we used to make the trees. Then we're going to look at these buttons up here, a few different ones, but we're going to go for this one. Now what this does is sets the priority, the display priority, for the tile in question that we're clicking on. Now what we want to do, the lower the number we have here, the lower the display. Or I should rephrase that perhaps. Keep in mind that the player is display priority 0. If we want things to display over him, we need to make the numbers higher. If we want him to walk around this tree, that's how we will do that. So we set this now. Let's try it out and see if it works. Oh, and it doesn't. Because we have an oversight. It's still set to background. So if we set this to object, these are still set to the second layer. Aha, success. However, we can walk through them. Now that's not something we would usually want to have happen. So, how do we fix this problem? So, what we're going to do now, I believe object layer, yes, we go to this actually, sorry, not object layer, terrain layer. And you see the cursor has turned red. What this does is places an impassable tile wherever we click. So we click here, we click here, we click here, and we click here. Now when we try to traverse these tiles, I'm sure we can guess what's going to happen. We are blocked. We cannot go past. Okay. So, next, we're going to open the Tileset file. Let's see here. I believe we can improve this. I don't know if this is going to work just yet. This may be something, because you may have seen that this is displaying over our character, which is not the best outcome that we could get. Strange. Perhaps if we change it to... Oh, well, we can't change it to 0, can we? Well, I assume this stands for 0, so we'll try that out. Aha! There we go. So, we do not need to change the base of the tree. The display priority should be 0, which is the same as the player. We only need to change the top half of the tree, which is the one we want the player to be able to walk behind. So, that was successful. Mr. Von Grimmsy here one more time. I made an oversight when I was recording the video, and I wanted to add a little fix here. So, I said you could use this impassable tile to block player movement, and that is true. However, there's actually an easier solution that I brushed over but didn't explain when I was making the video, and you may have seen it. If we go here, again within Tileset 2, we go here, and we make it impassable right here. Now notice again, there are no tiles, impassable tiles, painted on the map in the terrain layer. They don't exist. However, look at that. Exactly the way we wanted. And doing it this way may be more desirable because we don't need to go into the map and paint red tiles everywhere. So, just to give an example one more time. Wait. There we go. Ooh. So we may need to change that at some point. Well, let's just do it like this just to show. And there we go. As far as the player is concerned, they all display properly the way they should, and they block movement the way they should. So we'll call that done for the time being. Alright, on with the rest of the video. Okay, next. We're going to do something different here. So we have our tile set here for trees. We're going to copy and make a new tile set using this one. There. Strange. Oh, whatever. I'll try one more time. Ah, there we go. So, we're just going to name this tree. You wonder, why I might be doing this? We're going to change this to only use it for trees. So, the width and height, I believe, should be 16 by 32. Oh, wait. believe we're changing this setting here. Yes. Perhaps not, though. Well, it's a bit of a wash, but we'll use this tile here instead. So, tree. We'll use the palm tree for this example. Click this, go to our second layer, and have a tree here. Because who doesn't like some palm trees? I think I might be on top of one of them. Notice, same problem, because there are no impassable tiles to block our movement. So the same thing would apply. We would go into the object layer and set impassable tiles. And there we go. Oh, I need to reset the priority here, it seems. I'm not sure how this will display. Ah, it is still successful. Great. Okay, so this example is essentially how Yami showed to do this in his original video. I'm going to show you a different method for doing this that I discovered on my own that I believe some people will find additional utility for. First, let us delete these trees because we're not going to need these ones. However, I'll show you one thing real quick about these trees. Ooh, not that. We can just slam trees everywhere. And perhaps, well, we need to delete these. Perhaps if we wanted a path through these trees, we would do like so. This would be familiar to anyone who played old RPGs. Whoa. They like to hide treasure chests within mazes of trees or other off-screen objects. So then we would be blocked. Well, let me do it the right way. I screwed that up. Let's try again. Like so. Okay, so perhaps, for example, get out of there. Perhaps we have some treasure or some hidden area up here. We're walking in, oh, I can't go anywhere. But then, oh, we found a secret path. And perhaps there's an area transition here or something similar. Anyway, getting off topic once again. So, let us delete all of this because we're not going to need it. All the trees. Now, as for my different method of doing this, we're going to right click. Now I will tell you, my method is a little more involved. There's more steps than Yami's method. However, the method I am detailing here will allow us to interact with the tree and do much more with it. The trees that we set here, these are merely map decorations. We cannot set events on them. I mean, we could set events on them, but it would not be the same as my method, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to right click. We're going to create an actor. Guess what we're going to name him? Tree. So we have our actor here. No portrait, animation, there's nothing. Nothing for this guy. So we're going to go to create once more and create an animation. What do you think we're going to name that? Yes, tree once again. Now, we're going to go to the tree animation, double click, and back to the familiar animation screen. Right click and insert in the motions. Go down to idle, actor motions, idle. Now the first thing we want to do is turn loop on. So the character will always loop the idle animation. Next, we're going to settings here. Open the sprite menu, double click, and we need a tree, right? 16 by 16. We can have a name here for convenience sake. Perhaps tree stuff. So then when we see it on the menu here, we can have an idea of why we put it there. We're going to go here, right click, create, sprite. And we're going to click the first keyframe here. Actually, before that, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to go to Sprite, select Tree Stuff, so that when we click this keyframe, our list here is populated with objects, or the tileset objects. Now, you might be wondering, how are you going to put 2 tiles? This is easy. First, we put this tile. Well, we can only put 1, right? Well, the solution may be obvious, but we don't need to do that. We can just, oops, whatever. Copy and paste. We're going to go here, select the top, and just move it up. It's like playing with Legos. And there we have it. A beautiful tree that can stand on its own. Now, why did we make this? You may be wondering, or you may have already figured out what I'm doing. So we're going to close the tree animation. We're done with it for all intents and purposes. We're going to go to Tree, and we're going to select Animation Tree. And it will automatically populate the idle animation, or sorry, the idle motion with the idle motion we created, and Move will also be automatically populated with the idle motion. Now, what else do we do here? I seem to have missed a step here. Oh, I didn't set it. Foolish. Perhaps I need to set it, and then once I set it, we see the tree has come out. Now we're going to test this, and we may notice some discrepancy here. We probably don't want to be able to push the tree around, correct? Oh, we're able to hit the tree too. That's a setting I perhaps left as it shouldn't have been, but that's okay. Okay, so we don't want to be able to push the tree around, but keep in mind, this same kind of functionality, the same way I set this up, could be used to emulate pushable blocks, pushable items, pushable anything that could be used to solve puzzles. Perhaps we push this on top of another object we have here that will unlock a door or open a chest or whatever. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So, we go to the map here. Team NPC. Now this is something I set when I was playing around with the program earlier, but I'll show you what I did. Normally, like I said, the player cannot hit NPCs, and that is a setting that is adjusted here in Teams. Now, when we click on any of these, we notice the changes here. The changes are pertaining to the highlighted selection. So, players cannot hit players, and players will not collide with players. Now notice if I change these are the settings that are default. We cannot hit NPCs and we cannot collide with them. So, this is normally what would happen. We would just walk through the tree. We can't push the tree around. We certainly can't hit it because we can't interact with it. So, we'll just push that setting back so we can push it. Collide and hits on. Now, what we can do with that is what I showed you before. Now, we might not want the tree to actually move. So what we can do is go to this setting here, collision weight. Now we see this is a collision weight of 1, and if we go to actors, the one we've been playing as, his collision weight is also 1. So, what we need to do to avoid the tree moving is go to the collision weight and double it. As long as this number is double of the actor pushing on it, it will not move. So, no movement, but we can hit it. Now, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. If we did collision weight of 1.9, for example, the tree will move. We can hit it, but we can push it, albeit very slowly. So we probably don't want that to happen, so we'll set it back to 2. And there we go. Now, given that this engine can support up to 1,000 or maybe several thousand enemies on the screen at once, you would be okay populating the scene with many of these trees, should you want to. And I'm sure some of you watching this can probably already think of some pretty interesting uses for this sort of system. Notice we have all these trees here. They display correctly. We can hit them. Ooh. So, this would be easy to use to set up perhaps a wood harvesting system, a crafting system, resource collection. The tree's only a picture, obviously, so whatever picture we put there could be a stone, a gem node, any number of different things that we want the player to be able to collect from. Now you might be wondering how to actually damage it and other things of that sort. That's something we'll go over in a future video, I believe the next video. But I will give you a hint. It has to do with attributes. That should give some of you enough to go on to probably figure it out on your own. But other than that, I believe that's it for this video. So if you liked it, be sure to click on the like button, and if it tickles your fancy, subscribe. I plan on creating more content like this, more content for this engine, and in the future I plan on creating a small game with it. So if you're interested in that, be sure to keep an eye on my channel. This is Von Grimmsy, signing off. See you later, guys.